In the year 2017, I was involved in a significant vehicle accident. The truck involved in this incident was an old crew cab with manual locking hubs, a mechanism that most newer vehicles don't have. The backstory of this incident begins in the winter of 2016. The truck's hubs had been engaged and the transmission had been put into four-wheel drive to assist with road maintenance and snow removal. During that assignment, the truck sustained minor damage to the front bumper from sliding off the road. It was then placed in what we called the graveyard for maintenance and was to be unused on the compound. The following spring, a primary crew truck was having electrical issues. This truck was sent in for service and an interim vehicle was needed to support the module. Upon receiving a resource order, the decision was made to use the vehicle that had been sitting all winter in the graveyard. My squad of 5 outfitted the truck with the necessary equipment and completed a preventative maintenance check. En route to the fire, we took the freeway and accelerated to the posted speed limit of 80 miles per hour. The vehicle started to struggle and vibrate. We began a conversation about pulling over to investigate the issue when we heard a loud pop. The noise came from underneath the hood. The truck had now lost power, brakes, and ability to steer. Over the radio, the truck behind us called, "Your truck is dragging fire." As smoke started entering the cab, we shifted our weight to the left side of the vehicle to help maneuver into the median. The gravel of the median abruptly reduced the speed of travel. I pulled the emergency brake and removed the key from the ignition. We jumped out with fire and heavy traffic surrounding us. The truck was completely engulfed within seconds of exiting. The crew made it out safely, but the vehicle and our gear was a total loss. An accident review determined the cause to be a failed transfer case due to the hubs being engaged and traveling at a high rate of speed. This was preventable. How many times have you heard, "Driving is the most dangerous thing we do"? Often this risk becomes normalized. There is inherent risk while traveling to, from, and during wildfire operations. We also experience this risk every time we get behind the wheel in our day-to-day lives. This module emphasizes the importance of driver safety by pointing out negative driving outcomes and factors that cause them. In the end, we will discuss safe driving tactics to manage the risk of the road. As a culture who values learning from past events, a glimpse into vehicle accident archives is a good place to start. Since 1987, the Risk Management Committee has produced an annual report of recorded accidents, near misses, and fatalities. These safety grams denote negative outcomes related to driving. Upon reviewing the past 10 years of negative driving outcomes, we see on average 10 driving incidents per year, including fatalities. This data does not account for UTVs, ATVs, heavy equipment, or water tenders. In a year like 2023, there was an increased number of accidents compared to the 3 years prior. Fire seasons have become fire years and tours of duty have extended, essentially causing more exposure behind the wheel. A variety of resources saw an upscale of miles traveled in 2023, supporting shoulder season, RX burns, and wildfires across Canada and the United States. For example, Sawtooth Hotshots traveled 22,000 miles in 2023 with just their chase truck. The total mileage for 4 vehicles in the fleet was approximately 80,000 miles. This was a 20,000-mile increase from 2022. Another trusted source of information comes from the Wildland Fire Lessons Learned Center. They produce rapid lesson-sharing documents that explore what factors may have contributed to negative outcomes. The following dataset was gathered from annual incident review summaries and detailed incident reports evaluating driving incidents from the past decade. Upon analyzing the data, most negative outcomes involve collisions, rollovers, equipment malfunctions, and slide-offs. Further analysis can link these outcomes to common factors such as low experience, distractions, fatigue, and environmental conditions. By recognizing the contributing factors from prior incidents, it is crucial that we travel with caution and prioritize safety to avoid life-threatening situations. Finding the most effective route to manage risk while driving should be at the forefront of our minds. Here are 3 incidents in the last 10 years that show common factors contributing to negative outcomes. Case 1. The Hayden Fire Vehicle incident involved crew members from a regular Type 2 IE crew. This was their first assignment during 2023. Up until the day of incident, daily operations for the crew included mostly mop-up. Later in their assignment, they shifted into suppression repair work. On their 13th operational shift, this incident occurred while driving on a narrow mountain road. It was sleepy inside the vehicle, and the driver dozed off causing the truck to slide off the road. Case 2. This was the crew's first time out on assignment with varying levels of experience driving on mountain roads. While en route to demob at ICP, the crew had to navigate narrow mountain roads with soft shoulders. This hazard had been acknowledged by the incident management team, and efforts were made to improve the roads. The driver was making his first trip on this road and was cautious of the soft shoulders. While taking a slight right turn, the driver averted his eyes to the passenger side of the vehicle closest to the cut bank. During this 3 to 5 second look to the right, the vehicle had begun sliding off the shoulder, causing the vehicle to roll several hundred yards down the mountain. Case 3. After a long day's work of pulling hose from a recently burned unit, an engine module was returning to their station. While en route, the truck came in contact with the guardrail and redirected it into a power pole. A passenger was present on the side of the vehicle that struck the guardrail. There was no communication from the passenger to the driver about the approaching guardrail. An additional hazard from the collision were the power lines touching the truck and the ground. Amongst these incidents that we have reviewed, what commonalities do you notice as contributing factors? What can we do as operators to ensure our safety?
Kyle West, Superintendent of Sawtooth Hotshots. We've got 4 vehicles, 1 soup truck, 2 crew carriers, each of them carry 10 personnel, and then we've got a chase truck and a trailer and UTV. So something we look at pretty hard during critical training and even pre-season with the permanents is just the individual level of competency when it comes to driving these different vehicles. And really, we have to go through and have some talks and upfront coordination before we go out on assignment, because we need to have the right person in the driver's seat at the right time. An example of that would be some folks operate well under pressure in congested city traffic, while other folks have a really hard time, just get super stressed out, or there's a lot of anxiety and don't operate as well. So putting the right person in the driver's seat at the right time is super important. So it's every employee's responsibility when they get in the driver's seat to drive as safely as possible underneath the current conditions that are out there. And ultimately, we can only control ourselves, but it doesn't mean that we can't influence those around us, and even those folks can influence us. But we have no control over the other drivers that are out there or all the situations that we'll run into. And so ultimately, we just need to drive as safely, as respectfully, sometimes even turning the other cheek when we run into folks that are frustrated out on the road, because we have a bunch of people in the vehicles and safety is the absolute priority. And the intent of the whole thing is just getting to the assignment, right? Or wherever we're going. So some watch out situations that we've recognized over the years. One big one is the human factor side of things. And so that's inside the crew, that's individual to individual, how fatigue plays in to each individual throughout the day, where they're at under those current conditions. And then also how we react to the outside human factors, right, which is everybody else out on the roadway too, is key to ensuring that we can mitigate all those hazards and still keep safety at the forefront of our minds. Long drives to and from assignments, long drives on and off the fire line, into shift after you worked a really hard shift. Folks are really fatigued and tired, especially when you pull an all-nighter and you're on night ops. Those are very difficult. We have to make sure the right folks are in the driver's seat for that. After lunch is certainly one of those times where we see folks maybe a little bit fatigued. Weather conditions, narrow winding road, limited visibility, poor road conditions, all something we have to take into effect, and we will ultimately run into all that stuff out there in a season. Daily, PM checks are done, If there's any issues, we make sure that they're identified and known, and if it's within our scope, they're addressed. On top of that, daily, we're also ensuring that the right drivers are in the driver's seat. Every 2 hours, we will take a break and we do a driver swap. And what goes along with that expectation is if folks are feeling fatigue, if they're just not mentally engaged and can't stay mentally engaged driving the vehicle, then they need to communicate that they need a swap. And that takes a little bit of self-awareness and takes some integrity and honesty to be able to say that, because people just want to do a good job and do their role, right? But it's an expectation so that we can truly mitigate the hazards out there on the road. The passenger that's up front with the driver must always remain awake, and that's for a big reason. 2 sets of eyes up front to help avoid and mitigate any hazards that are rising on the road is just super important. And it's also the responsibility of the passenger up there with the driver to manage all the radio commo, handle all the entertainment, and then also to do all the navigating and communication back and forth with the overhead. Driving is treated as a privilege, and the folks in the back of the truck also are paying attention from time to time and recognize the driver's skill sets and competencies. We certainly here, at least on our crew, empower the folks in the back. You know, if you see something, to say something, because it is a team effort in the long run to make sure that we make it to where we're going. It all comes down to safety and how we mitigate those risks, and folks have to make it home. That is the most important thing.
I might not be standing here today if the accident I was involved in would have taken another route. When I look back on that time, I know that better precautions could have been made. Something so simple to me now, like checking a vehicle for locking differentials, was not apparent to me as a second-year firefighter. Think about yourself and the role you play. What are you doing to prevent the normalization to risk and minimizing complacency on the road?